This lesson jumps a whole lot. Yeah, this lesson is jumping like crazy this morning. But as I always talk and tell y'all, don't just read the lesson. Read the whole book. So if you read the whole book, you won't be lost. All right, so this is lesson number 2, the second lesson in the summer quarter. Today is June the 11th, the year of 2023. The topic of today's lesson is a perfect kingdom. And again, this, like I said, this lesson was jumping it from Matthew the 5th chapter, 17th to the 18th verse, then drop down to the 21st and the 22nd verse, then it drops down again to the 27th to the 28th verse, then again down to the 38th to the 39th, then again to the 43rd to the 44th verse. So, yes, this lesson is jumping a whole lot, but if you read just those lessons, if those scriptures, if you just read those, you won't have no other choice but to go back and read everything else, because it explains what you read. So I'm going to try my best to go into it and try to jump into some of these scriptures that's going to explain a lot that's not in the scripture. So last week, it takes us through this lesson here. If you didn't pay attention last week, you will be lost this week, because you'll have that mindset of the younger generation nowadays. You'll have that mindset, it don't make sense. You know, why are you acting like this? Why I got to do that? Why I got to do this? Well, the reason is you're asking these questions because you didn't pay attention last week. You know, so last week they were telling you about all the things that you needed to do to be happy in Christ. So this week is telling you that if you decided not to do those things to be happy, these are the things that you have to look forward to of the end result. So I'm not going to get too far into talking like I normally do, because I normally talk about 20 minutes before I get into the lesson. However, the only one thing that I want is for y'all to get into your mindset, the phrase, all of a sudden. So I want everybody right now just to say, all of a sudden.
All of a sudden.
All of a sudden.
All of a sudden. Now, I want everybody to say, it didn't happen like that.
It didn't happen like that.
Now that we got understanding that all of a sudden didn't happen just like that, we'll go ahead on and get into the lesson. So just keep that in mind. All of a sudden, and it didn't happen like that. All right. So lesson starts at 17th verse. And 17th and 18th verse is what I'm about to read. It says, Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled. So, what this lesson here, what these two scriptures here is really talking about, Jesus is telling you, he says, look, I didn't come to change anything. Okay? The law was already written. I'm not going to change the law. However, I'm only here to see that the law is actually being fulfilled the way it was intended to be fulfilled. Now, the law that they're talking about is, can anybody answer it? The Mosaic law. That's it. Okay, so being that the Mosaic law is what he's talking about, the book of Matthew, it kind of sort of puts Jesus in the same position or somewhat close to the position that Moses was in. So if you actually read through all of these, the Exodus, and then you go back to Matthew and read that, then you go back to Exodus and read that, then you go back to Matthew and read that, then you'll find that they're pretty much saying basically the same thing, but it's worded totally different. Moses is telling you about certain things that needs to be done. You got to do this. You got to do that. God is telling you, no, I'm not telling you just like that. What I'm telling you is also these other things. So we're going to get down into the also and these other things. But just remember, all of a sudden, but it didn't happen like that. Okay? So he's here to make sure that the law is being fulfilled. So basically it's like growing up, if we was to go off and we would spend the night at one of our cousins' house, the laws and the rules that our parents set for us in our house, they don't stop running just because you went to somebody else's house. However, what does happen is the rules that you had to follow in your house also applies to the other house, but you now have to abide by their rules also. Mm-hmm. So what Jesus was actually saying was the Mosaic laws is set here in place, and he gave you certain rules like thou shalt not kill, but you got to understand, what does killing mean? See, many people think that killing mean that you got to take a knife and stab somebody, or a gun and shoot somebody, or a rope and hang them, or strangle them, or whatever. But you ever heard the saying, the pen is mightier than the sword? Oh, you can kill somebody badly with a pen. You can write something down that they just can't get away from. Or you can say something out of your mouth that will not let them get up. What was you saying? That's it. That tongue. That tongue. You can say something to somebody that'll just shut them down. Oh, you'll kill them with that. You ain't even got to touch them. So understand the law itself. So that's what Jesus is actually talking about in this lesson. Understanding the law. Not just looking at the law and using it just to fit and meet your own benefits and your own needs. Because like I said before, that's what people do when it comes to the Bible. People take the words that they read out of the Bible and then they look at their own lifestyle and then they say, well, I'm not doing any of these things, so I must be good. Well, if you don't understand it and you're running into it, that's just like you. So, like I said before, all of a sudden, certain things happened. But it didn't happen all of a sudden. Understand that. I know it's not really making much sense to you right now when I say all of a sudden, but it didn't happen all of a sudden. It's not making very much sense to you, but I'm going to get down to it. Now, 19 and 20. I'm going to read all of this. I'm not going to ask anybody to read because we're trying to get through the lesson. I'm not trying to take hours. So, 19. And this is the New English translation that I'm reading out of. It just so happened to be the book that I picked up, the Modern English Translation. So it says, this means that whoever now relaxes one of the least of these commandments and teaches men to do the same will himself be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever teaches and practices them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I tell you that your goodness must be a far better thing than the goodness of the scribes and Pharisees before you can set foot in the kingdom of heaven at all. So what it's actually saying here is, if you miss one thing, if you miss one commandment, you've broken all commandments. You can be good to everybody in the world, but if you mistreat one person, that's it. You've mistreated them all. That's it. So, as long as you're following the 10 commandments to the T, and that's what verse 18 was actually talking about. It says, verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law till all be fulfilled. So what it's actually saying there is, you must cross every T and dot every I. That's right. You can't miss anything. You have to make sure that every law is fulfilled. Everything within that law, you've already done it, and you're not going to go back. You're not going to break any of these laws. Because if you miss one law or you break one law, you've broken them all. Says, ye have heard that it was said by them of old times, thou shalt not kill, and whosoever shall kill shall be in danger of the judgment. But I say unto you, that whosoever is in anger with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment. And whosoever shall say to his brother, Raca, shall be in danger of the council. But whosoever shall say, thou fool, shall be in danger of hell fire. So 21 is telling us what the Ten Commandments said. Okay? The Ten Commandments says, thou shalt not kill. Okay, now Jesus is coming back and he's letting us understand that thou shalt not kill is just a portion of what I said. It says, now, if you want to understand and the meaning of what I'm talking about is even if you don't touch him, you can kill him. Mm-hmm. If I think bad things about my brother, I might as well have done it because it's the same thing. Oh, I know what you're saying. Well, you didn't touch him. You didn't physically kill him, so that's different. Yeah, you're right. That is different. But when it comes to the judgment of God, you've committed the same sin. Right. Whether you physically did it or not, you did it. You thought about it. It was in your heart to do it. You might not have done it, but you did it.
You did it. You sinned.
All of a sudden. But it didn't happen like that. Okay? Mm-hmm. I'll get down to what I'm talking about later. Right. It says, but I say unto you that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of judgment. Of the judgment, not of judgment. Okay? Judgment is at the end. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It says of the judgment, which is in this physical world that we are in right now, we are in danger of the judgment. Mm-hmm. Okay? So, now, it says here, and whosoever shall say to his brother, Raka, shall be in danger of the council. Raka, y'all, I know you probably don't understand or know what that means. Okay, basically is what it's saying is if you're talking bad about it, you numbskull, you idiot, you fool or whatever. You're calling them out of their name. Mm-hmm. That's what you're talking about. So if you're talking about somebody and it's something other than who they are, you're in danger of counsel. You're in danger of the judgment. Right. You know, so you are going to be judged on everything that you are doing. All these things are adding up. In other words, you're going to fall into something that didn't happen all of a sudden, but it happened. So you'll look back at it and say, you know what? They just kept picking and picking and picking and picking and picking. And then all of a sudden, I hear them. It didn't happen like that. It didn't just happen all of a sudden is what I'm saying. Yeah. You know, what I'm saying is these problems that you done ran into, it was building up over time. Yeah. So if you end up in hell, you didn't end up in hell all of a sudden. You've been doing things the whole time to land yourself into hell. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden don't exist. It was already in the making. Many people will sit and say, all of a sudden I did this, and all of a sudden this happened. All of a sudden this happened. Well, all of a sudden didn't happen. You was doing things along the way that played a part in this, which played a part in this, which took a part in this, which in the result caused this to be in effect. It didn't just happen all of a sudden. Ye have heard that it was said by them of old times, thou shalt not commit adultery. But I say unto you, that whosoever looketh on a woman to lust after her hath committed adultery with her already in his heart. Mm-hmm. The Bible right here is saying what's in the Bible now, okay? Plain. It's saying what's in the Bible. Don't look at this and say, only men is doing this. Okay, I understand that it says that the man, if he looks at her, I understand that's what it's saying. But if a man is looking at a married woman or a married man is looking at a single woman or whatever, you are committing adultery. And it doesn't have to be in marriage. Mm-hmm. Y'all got to understand what these commandments really mean, okay? So you think that committing adultery just mean that I'm married and I'm cheating on my spouse? No, it doesn't. That's not what it really means. It means you have cheated on something. Okay, I'm not even going to put a name on it. You have cheated on something. Cheated on yourself. Cheated on your mother. Cheated on your father, brother, sister. Cheated in life itself. You have committed adultery somewhere. Nobody is perfect when it comes to following all the rules to the T. However, when it comes to following all the rules to the T, if you do that one simple thing, which is put God first, all these other things will fall in play like it's supposed to. You don't have to wonder about if you're doing things the right way if God was put into your life first. All these other things will fall in play because God is not going to allow you to go astray. But see, where we fall in problems is we try to do everything that God says do in the Bible on our own. We want to read the 10 Commandments and we want to say, thou shalt not kill. Okay, I haven't killed anybody, so I must be good. Thou shalt not commit adultery. I'm not cheating on my spouse, so I must be good. Thou shalt not use God's name in vain, so I'm not saying anything out of his name, so I must be good. Well, if you don't understand the law, you probably broke every one of them.
That's right.
When you're saying you shouldn't kill, and you physically haven't killed anybody, but verbally, you've destroyed many people. By pen, you've destroyed, ex-military, I can tell you the truth. That pen will hurt you. Oh, I've had a couple of Article 15s. I've been terrible when I first joined the military. I'm going to tell you the truth. That will kill you. That will mess up your whole entire life. You laugh around it, you play about it, but an Article 15 is something serious. That's about like getting a federal job and getting fired from it. Get fired from the federal job and see what kind of job you're going to get next. Now, Article 15 is just like that. So, you can be killed with the pen. You can write somebody out of certain things. You can tell somebody that they don't make sense. You're retarded. You slow. You a fool. You're killing them. Especially if their self-esteem is very low. Mind what you do and understand these laws is all I'm saying to you. It says, ye have heard that it hath been said, an eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth. But I say unto you, that ye resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite thee on thy right cheek, turn to him the other also. I'm trying to figure out how I can put this to you. Well, let's take it to let's talk about this because I know it was in the lesson. It just wasn't in this lesson. So we're talking about the Pharisees, the Sadducees, and the scribes. Okay, so these are the ones that was trying to enforce these laws. All right, but the problem with them trying to enforce these laws, they didn't really understand these laws. So, the scribes, I'm going to tell you in a manner of where you can kind of understand who these people really are. Okay, the scribes, y'all know when you're sitting at your desk and you just take your pencil, pick it up, and just start doodling. You're just scribbling something. You don't even know what you're writing. That's a scribe. They just writing something down. They don't even know what they're writing down. They just put it down there because it looked like something that needs to be written down. Yeah. They don't understand, but they want you to follow this law. Then you got the Sadducees. Y'all see where I'm about to get at, right? They are very sad, you see. Okay? All right, so they don't really care what's going on. They're just trying to make it. So by them going along with whatever anybody says, as long as you're going along with it, they are okay with you. Now the Pharisees, these are the ones that walk up with their chest stuck out. Yeah. Because they think that they are fair. You see? They think they're fair. So they're the ones that are actually saying eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. What you do to me, I'm going to do to you. They're thinking that this thing is fair. It's not fair. See, God is not looking for anybody to get that same punishment that they put on somebody else. Okay, God is looking for just punishment. Just punishment doesn't necessarily mean you get the same thing to you that was done to somebody else. A just punishment means just that. It is just. It is right. Let's say, for instance, okay, and I talk like this a lot. You have somebody that just go on and, they are very mentally disturbed. Mm-hmm. And they're running around town and they kill this person, they kill this person, they kill that person, and they kill this person. I'm going to tell you what they're really trying to do. They're trying to get caught so that somebody can end them because they are too scared and afraid to do it themselves. So when you're looking at being fair, I don't think killing them is very fair at all because you're giving them exactly what they was looking for. My point of view is just get them. And then just let their mind sink in. They don't know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen. They just sitting there, not knowing. And see, that is just, if you ask me. Because if you give them exactly what they've been looking for, you just help them out. Y'all understand what I'm saying? Being just and being fair is totally different. Just because you killed somebody doesn't mean the right thing to do is to kill you. The right thing to do is to make you think about it, unless that is what needs to happen. All right, right here, 39, it says, "But I say unto you that ye resist not evil, but whosoever shall smite thee on the right cheek, turn to him the other also." Who knows what that means?
Look the other way. You slap me on my way, you slap me on that side, turn to the other side so you can slap me again on the other side. Mm-hmm. not physically.
Not physically, yeah.
Okay.
If they do, we better turn you up the cheek to somebody to hit. If they hit you one time, you're gonna get held.
Let's put it like this here. If someone goes into your home and steal food out of your refrigerator, the right thing to do is to find that person and take them all of your food, because if they stole it, that means they needed it. Mm-hmm. And if they needed it and you got it, give it to them. That's what turning the other cheek mean. That don't mean if somebody knock you out on this side, turn around and let them do it again. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Let's not get into doing stuff like that, okay? So we are Christians. We are not idiots. We're not slow. We're not dumbfounded or whatever. So we shouldn't get into the point to where we get into this, well, I'm not going to mess with them. I know they hit me, so I'm just going to turn the other way. It must be something going on with them. And they do it again. Well, don't do nothing to them. They okay. No, it's not okay. Okay? It's not okay. So turning the other cheek means when someone does something, you offer it to them. Someone takes something, you offer that to them. You know, I remember a little joke. I don't even know if I can get the joke right. I probably shouldn't even be saying it, but I'm going to say it anyway because I'm teaching Sunday school. This is my Sunday school lesson. So I'm going to tell it anyway. Okay, it's a little joke my daddy told me a while back. He says there was two men that was working for this boss man. This boss man, he used to keep and save hams, you know, and he put the hams in the little bin, and there was a little side slot hole. And they'll reach their hands in the hole, take a ham out, and leave. And they'll do that every week. And then the boss man, he started noticing that he's been missing hams. So he been asking, he says, do anybody know who's been taking my hams? No, don't nobody know. Ain't nobody raised their hand or nothing. So this man set up a trap. And these two guys went back the next week to steal 2 more hams. One reached the hand in and snatched his hand back out real quick. And his friend said, did you get yours? He said, yeah, I got mine. You're going to get yours. So He reached his hand in there and he snatched it out real quick. Said, "Did you get yours?" He said, "Yeah, I got mine." So that next day, they standing out there, and the boss man, he wanted to know if anybody been taking their hands. He said, "No." He says, "2 people is missing hands. I can tell you that right now." Says, "Well, it ain't none of us." Said, "Everybody raised their hand." Said, they raised their hands. And then went around to him and said, "All right, everybody raise the other hand." And went around to the 2 men and said, "Why you ain't raising your other hand?" They said, "I ain't got but one nub." So the thing was, how this lesson actually went into play there, it says, while reading through the lesson actually, not through these here, but through the lessons, it says, if your right hand offends you, cut it off. If your right eye offends you, pluck it out. So now it's not saying that if I can't keep my hands to myself, I need to cut that hand off. No, it's not what it's saying. So I don't want anybody to say, "Well, I just couldn't keep my hands to myself, so I cut my hand off." Don't want nobody to go around and do stuff like that, because the problem was not in your hand. The problem was in you. It was in your heart, So that's where this the commandments was coming in when God was trying to explain the commandments. It's in your heart. That's why he said that if any man lust, and they put that lust in their heart, then they have already committed adultery. So what he mean by getting rid of it is talk to God and have God deliver you from that. He's not saying go and cut these things off. He's saying talk to God. Have God deliver you from these problems that you're going through. Now, I know there's a lot of married couples out here, and husbands will get upset with wives, and wives will get upset with husbands, because each of the spouses might see another, male or female, walking abroad, and maybe the husband might look, or the wife might look and want to turn and look, and then they'll get upset because they look. And well, the thing is, it's nothing to get upset about. When God created man, woman, when God created these things, God created everything perfect. So when a man looks, he's only looking at the beauty that God created. So now the problem with that is, are you staring in lust, or did you just look? There's a difference. You can just and go on about your business. But then when that's where your problem coming in at, because now you're not just looking, you're lusting. There's a big difference. So you can't really get into this argument and this altercation about you shouldn't be looking at that. You shouldn't. Well, God created all things perfect. So by me not recognizing what God created, that's one thing. And now I'm not going to stare at him, because I'm a married man, and I'm not going to lust at anything either, because God has given me mine. And what I have is all mine. And I know it's another story. Okay, I don't care. It's another story. Okay, so what it is, there was this one cow, one male bull, sitting in a pasture with 6 female cows, all to himself. And he looked over on the other side, and he seen 3 of the prettiest cows that he would ever want to see, and all he wanted was them. Now it's one male bull over here by himself with 6 female cows, 3 cross on the other side. He get out of his pasture, cross the street, go to the other pasture where those 3 cows are, walk over there, come to find out there's 6 male bulls in that pasture with them 3 female cows. Now, the problem that he had was he got what he wanted, but he lost what he had. Y'all see what I'm saying? See, with this curious mind that we all have in these days, God gives us exactly what we want. He gives us exactly what we need. Our curious minds have us looking about, and that's where I'm coming in at with this looking with lust and stuff. So what happens is you start looking around and you start seeing things that's catching to your eye, and you forget what you had. And you end up going to grab some of these things that you're looking at because it looks good at the moment. And then you find yourself into a situation where you are now left alone, and you saying, and all of a sudden, I'm divorced. Well, the problem is it didn't happen all of a sudden. Y'all see what I'm getting at, right? None of this happened all of a sudden. All of these things played a certain part that led you up to this situation.
Yeah, and Jesus basically, he wanted us to know the seriousness, and I was just joking around. He want you to know the seriousness of it. It comes to that point, you know, if you have to. You know what I'm saying? He was just saying how serious this is. You know, that's how he put it. Let me put it to you like this. You know, this how serious it is. Cut off your arm if it is offends you. You know what I'm saying? If you doing something wrong. He said, because this ain't no playing and joking matter.
That's exactly right. That's why he went and gave his own explanation. He told you what the Mosaic law said. Then he explained what he meant. Like I said, if you done went back to the first 16 verses in chapter 5 of what we're in right now, he was talking about all the things that he was giving us to be happy, the things that we needed to survive, the things that we needed to make it through our days, the things that we needed so that we wouldn't have to worry, frown, be upset, be unhappy. None of these things. He gave us all of these things in the first 16 verses. Now, what he said here in verse 17 down, he says, if you choose not to take this happiness that I was offering you, and you decide to go another route, this is what's going to happen. This is the other route that you will be going. This is the direction you'll be heading. So instead of going to heaven, you'll be going to hell. He's just laying it straight out to you. Yeah. He said, I'm going to give you the opportunity to make your own decision. So you can either go to heaven where I'm planning everything out for you. You ain't got to worry about nothing. Or you can make your own decision and go to hell. But just know that if you wake up in hell, it didn't happen all of a sudden. All these things took time. Planning out. Now, I'm putting it like that. Yeah. You planned to go to hell. Everything that you did was your planning on going to hell, because God gave you everything that you needed to get back to heaven. He said it before. The person that you was when I brought you down here is exactly who I want you to be when you return. All these things that you did in the middle, I understand that because you were born into a sinful world, and I know sin is going to follow you. Things that you're going to do because you are sinful. Human by nature are sinful. So I'm not going to say that he was expecting for us to go out there and do a lot of negative things. I'm not going to say that. But he gave us a choice to make, and he do know that sin was going to be there. That's right. I don't care how good you are. Sin is going to be there. You can just get saved yesterday. Soon as you walk out, sin is right there. Matter of fact, you will notice it more. Because me and my brother was talking the other day about noticing smokers. You know, when we were smokers, we didn't notice. People would walk past us and we didn't notice. Because that was something that was familiar to us. We didn't notice it when it walked past, but when we stopped, we understood how ridiculous we must have seemed. Walking around people trying to seem like we wasn't doing certain things. But if that's not you, you notice it. So you will notice people doing wrong. And what this lesson was talking about beforehand was not having to go around and explain to people who you are. You shouldn't have to explain to people who you are. If you are who you say you are, people should just see that in you. Whenever you come around them, your presence should let them see that in you. So when you walk around certain people and they say, hey, they're a preacher or deacon or teacher or something like that, but you're telling yourself, I'm none of those things. It's something in you that they see. So when they're telling you these things, and I'm not going to say take the first person that said it. Now, I'm not going to say that because many people take the first person and they run with it. They say, well, he said I was a preacher, so I'm going to jump up in the pulpit and preach. No, don't do that. Because 9 times out of 10, that wasn't the first time you heard it. The first time you heard it was within yourself. You probably heard something saying, you might be a preacher. Hey, you're a preacher. I think you're a preacher. You've been hearing these things coming on. So it's not the first time you heard it. It's just the first time somebody said it. So whenever you're walking around people and they're noticing certain things about you, it's the way you're presenting yourself. It's what they see when they look at you. It's what God is actually projecting out to the world. And whenever God has something in you, it's going to project out to the world. And if the world see it, and most of the time the world do see it before you do, because you're still noticing who you are. But the world is seeing the projection within you that sees who you are going to be. Y'all see what I'm saying?
Right.
The world only see who you're going, unless you got some of those that still you remember. You got some of them people that live in that remember phase. You remember. And I remember we used to do this. We used to do that. You got some of them that remember the wins. Y'all used to roll together and hang out and do all these things together. They remember what type of person you used to be. Well, the thing about used to be is yesterday is gone. Today is now. Tomorrow's not here yet. So the only time and moment we are to worry about is the right now. What happened yesterday, leave it back there yesterday. Ain't no needs in digging that back up because it ain't nothing you can do about it to change it. It's already done. Now, the only thing that you can work on is what's happening right now. And tomorrow, by worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow, you're taking out time to deal with today. Tomorrow got its own problems. Today got its own problems. Yesterday had its own problems. Okay, so while you're worrying about tomorrow, you're not paying no attention to what you need to do now. So leave tomorrow where it is. It'll get here sooner or later, which what I've been told was it never show up. But sooner or later, if you paying some attention, sooner or later it might show up. Just worry about the today. Then it says here, ye have heard that I hath been said, thou shalt love thy neighbor and hate thine enemy. That ain't what we've been taught, though, is it? But see, what you're reading here is the Pharisees. This is what the Pharisees was talking about, of being fair. That's what they think this is fair. Said, just because these people are hating me means I'm supposed to hate them. I'm supposed to love all my neighbors, all those people that are close to me. I ain't saying neighbors mean they live beside me. No, that's not what they're talking about. What they're meaning about neighbors is anybody that you're close to, anybody that treats you good, anybody that's nice to you. Those are neighbors. So when they're saying love your neighbors, that's who they're talking about here. And hate your enemies. Anybody that has stepped on your toes. Anybody that has said anything negative to you. Anybody that looked at you and rolled their eyes. You're supposed to hate them.
No, don't.
But I say, this is what Jesus say.
Yeah.
Jesus say, love your enemies.
Yeah.
Bless them that curse you. Do good to them that hate you. Pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you.
That's right.
Anybody that treats you wrong, love them.
That's right.
Anybody that talk junk about you, love them. If they got anything negative to say, somebody trying to set a trap for you to fall into, you're supposed to love them too.
You know, brother teacher?
Yes, sir.
You know, you say the commandments things is there's one law that hangs on the tree. That one command. If you do just that, you will not break all the commandments.
Love. That is what Jesus is actually trying to get at. That's the point he's trying to make. As long as you can learn how to love, which, if you go back to what he first said, was put God first.
Yeah.
And if you go back to reading, if you go way back to the book of John, go into the book of John and start reading, and it starts talking about Jesus was born, the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. So if the Word came first, and the Word was love, and the Word was Jesus, and the Word was God, and you put God first, then the first thing that we have in us is love. So why are we running around hating if we put God first? If you actually put God first, hate shouldn't come out. Because the first was love. But we're running around hating. But we're saying, I put God first in my life. God is the head of my life. That's what we're saying. He's the head of my life, but I hate you.
How can you do that?
Love God and never seen it.
That's right.
Can't do it.
God is. See, there's a scripture in here. I can't really remember exactly where it is in here, but the scripture talks about how we tries to make decisions for the good, but we're swearing. That's what it's talking about. We're putting it on our mama. We're putting it on God and about everything I love. I'm going to do this. I swear on my mama. I swear on God. I swear on everything I love. But you can't control none of the things that you're swearing on.
That's right.
And in this scripture, it says something about I swear on my head. But you can't control or determine. Well, yeah, sometimes you can determine what color your hair is. But you can't enforce when it changes. Only God says, okay, I want your hair to be gray now. And most of the time when people's hair start changing colors, everybody's hair don't turn gray. Y'all know that, right? Mm-hmm. Some people's hair turns white. Mm-hmm. They just skip the gray phase and they just go straight to white. Some of it don't even go gray, it just goes silver. Mm-hmm. And then you got a lot of them, they have yellowish and little greenish tan and all this. No, I'm not saying anything bad about it. What it is they just use certain things in their life. Mm-hmm. But we can't determine none of these things. So how can we swear on these things? You can, when you say, I swear this thing will work. Something that you created, something that you made yourself, and then it fails. That's messed up right there anyway. How can you put your name on something and it fails? So by you not having the authority or the authorization to make sure that certain things is going to work or not, but you're going to swear on, I swear on God. You don't know anything about God. The only thing that you know about God is what's been written in this book.
That's right.
Now, the reason you're holding on to the things that's been written into this book is because this little thing called faith. We hold on to a little portion of this faith. I said a little portion of faith because we don't have complete faith. We still believe that we are going to fail even when we believe that we're going to make it. Don't make sense till you do it. But that's how we think. We got bills coming due next week. We got faith to believe that God's going to get us through this, but we don't have enough of faith to believe that it's going to happen when we need it. Mm-hmm. We still worried about that due date because we ain't got the money yet. But we're saying, I got faith in God, but you're trembling when you're saying that. I got faith. I got faith in God. He going to help me. God going to deliver me. I promise God going to deliver me. And you still wondering how you going to get it. Well, if you got enough of faith, you shouldn't be wondering how you're going to get it. Mm-hmm. That's because we don't have very much faith. We'll tell people all day long, every day that we got faith, but we don't have that much faith. We say we're Christians, but we're not Christians. We're church folk. Y'all know there's a difference. Mm-hmm. Christians people, they're just Christians. They're Christians. They're going to have faith on anything. They'll walk with you, talk with you. They're not going to say anything bad or negative to you or about you. Those are Christian folks. They're going to help you out if you need helping. But church folk will cuss you out.
Yeah.
Church folk is not going to help you out at all. Come to a church folk and ask them for $30 and see what happens.
Got that right.
Christian folks will get to you. Not church folk. See, this world is full of church folk. Y'all know that. Okay? I'm not telling you anything that you don't know. This world is full of church folk. We don't have very much of Christians nowadays. And I'm not going to blame it on COVID-19, but COVID-19 came and a lot of Christian folk left.
Yeah.
Now the churches is full of church folk because they didn't learn anything from the Christian folk. Now the only thing that they think church is all about is making money. So the few Christian folk that we do have left, we need to learn how to teach. And not only do the Christian folk need to learn how to teach, but those that are subject to learning need to learn how to receive. Because if you're not willing to receive, it's hard for us to get the messages out that you need. That's why these churches is falling down. That's why homes is falling down. That's why businesses is falling down, because you don't have anybody that's willing to receive a lesson. Everybody is telling you that they know more than you do. You don't know what you're talking about. This don't make much sense. Why are you doing this? I don't care what you're saying. You don't care about me, so why should I care about you? That's what we got going on now. So this world is falling because nobody cares about what anybody has to say. Nobody wants to worry about what anybody else is going to do. Everybody is on their own time. They're saying, hey, this is what I got to do. This is what I need. And this is how I'm going to do it. They don't care about you as long as they get it. So we got to stop living like that and get back to living as Christians. And us Christians need to get back to enforcing. I'm going to say enforcing. Because we can't just teach anymore. We have to enforce. We got to get right down to it and snatch them by the collar, sit them down in the seat and say, hey, you are going to listen to what I got to say. That's how it used to be. A Christian person used to snatch a child up in a minute. They'll sit a child on the front row of the church. And they'll say, you better listen and you better not move. And after church, you better tell them exactly what they had to say. Nowadays, it's, come on, let's go to church. Child back there doing whatever they want to do, running around, doing whatever they want to do, saying whatever they want to say. They can care less if they catch it. They might catch a word or two. But 9 times out of 10, if you ask them any questions at the end of church, they couldn't tell you nothing. That's because it's not being enforced like it used to be. So when you run back through Matthew, he's telling us what we should do. They're trying to enforce it. See, Jesus knew what type of people we was. We were the people that needed to be shown exactly how it needed to be done. We wasn't the type of people that you can just go and say, hey, this need to be done, because we were so ignorant to the point to where we had to get somebody to hold our hand and tell us exactly what it was we needed them to do. Go and get that ketchup out the cabinet. That's how we was. Go get it out the cabinet. We want to know what shelf is on. What is it behind? What is it sitting beside? Before we go to get it. Because we want to knock out all of the middlemen and go directly to the point. So Jesus had to do us just like that. He gave us the instructions, and then he told us what the instructions meant. Then he told us what the meaning of those instructions meant. That in order for us to do exactly what he wanted us to do in the first place, which was just love. That's all this has ever boiled down to. It boiled down to just love. We couldn't get it. And because we couldn't get it or understand it, he says, okay, love me first and then love everybody else. We just couldn't get that either. So then he had to break it down. Okay, all 5 reasons this way, love me. And then all 5 reasons this way, love everybody else. And now as you see it again, he's breaking that down. Trying to tell us exactly what he meant by those rules. Because we just didn't get it. But when you end up in hell, just remember what I said the first time. All of a sudden didn't happen all of a sudden.
All of a sudden.
Everything that you have done throughout your life played a big part into where you ended up.
Amen.
I'm going to turn this over into the hands of the superintendent.
I bet the teacher.